Hello everyone. So this needs an intro, this episode, because we didn't do a very good intro. I don't think this is a very good intro, but anyway. This is a chat with comedian, writer, actor Humphrey Ker. Joe and I used to gig with Humphrey about 10-15 years ago on the circuit. Humphrey was in a sketch group called the Penny Dreadfuls, and they were very successful. I think they got nominated for the Perrier, or Humphrey got nominated for the Perrier with a solo show. I can't remember, but they were good. Anyway, we haven't seen him for a decade or so, because I think Humphrey he went over to America and started writing over there. I think he's created a show called Mythic Quest, and he's doing acting, he's writing, blah 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 blah. But anyway, recently he's been involved in this documentary called Welcome to Wrexham, where his friend Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds, the actor, have purchased Wrexham Football Club to get them from the National League right up to the Premier, to try and take them on that journey. And what's Humphrey's role? Anyway, Humphrey plays a big old part in this documentary, because his role is, let me get this up, please. Humphrey is executive director at Wrexham. So he's looking after Wrexham now. So he was a comedy writer, a performer, and then he's become executive director at Wrexham Football Club, and it's just the best documentary. It's called Welcome to Wrexham, and it's watching this purchase, this takeover, and then watching how the club progresses after that, and it's just brilliant. I'm watching it on Disney. Well, it's on Disney. That's why I'm watching it on Disney, and my wife loves it. I was saying to Humphrey the other night, my wife was going, "Come on, when are we going to watch the next episode?" It's just brilliant. It's brilliant TV, and Humphrey's excellent in it, and it's just there's so many lovely little stories playing out. Anyway, so I haven't spoken to Humphrey for probably 10-15 years, and it's just bizarre that he's now part of this football club. It's crazy. Anyway, there's the intro. I hope it makes sense. And we recorded this about 6:30 at night. So usually we do Chatterbix early in the morning, and we're bright and breezy and full of energy. And I think at the start of this pod we're quite tired, but you know, it picks up pace as soon as Humphrey gets involved. Thank you, everyone. I hope that makes sense. Bye for now.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate.
How are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
All right, yeah. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Just been hoovering up.
Oh, I've watched 4.
I'm on my 6th.
Oh, yeah, don't tell me anything.
No, I won't. Fucking hell, I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, shall I record?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Fucking hell, I'm really excited to hear about how this happened. So I was recommended it. I recommended watching the documentary, and I was watching it in bed in a hotel room somewhere, and Humphrey popped up, and I was like, oh my god!
Oh, you didn't know?
No, I didn't know his name.
Naomi loves it.
Well, it's really not much about the football, is it? It's really about the journey. I'm in a bit which has made me.
Don't tell me.
No, I'm not going to tell you, but I was definitely like, okay. But so I asked Humphrey to come on, and I was like, how the fuck, like, because it was quite weird for me, because I was like, oh, we're doing like gigs in the Albany a few years ago to nobody.
Yeah.
And now he's like having Zoom calls with Ryan Reynolds. What are you doing?
So I got a spider on my little money spider climbing up my.
Hello. David just put his arm up and gently blew it off.
That's my money spider blow.
When you don't know what's happening, it's quite an odd thing to watch.
Where is Humphrey now? Is he in the UK or is he in?
Well, he's over here this week, but I think he's based over there, and he's a writer on American show. I'm guessing he writes on Everything Sunny in Philadelphia, because that's how he met Rob McAnally. Yeah, so I'm kind of just want to know about that.
I feel like we could cut all this out, this first 10 minutes.
Yeah, I feel that a lot with stuff.
Yeah, you haven't listened to the latest one I've cut. Fuck me.
I reckon every 5 minutes, if you said we could cut all that, I'd be like, yeah, probably. No idea. Don't know the point of anything. Well, if it stays in, that's that. If it doesn't, you're about to meet someone you won't know why. Oh, here's something.
That one. Oh, wonder. This is weird. So he's been in my living room for the last.
Pardon?
This is weird. He's been in my living room for the last.
But he's been.
So, bloody Nora.
God, you look 15 years younger than the documentary already.
When you said you look 15, I was like, it's been a while since we've seen each other. I was like, do I look 15 years older than you imagined I was going to?
No.
Hello, Humphrey.
Hi, mate.
Hello, David. Hi.
It's so weird. I've been lying on my sofa with my wife, just watching you for the last. It's so weird.
It's so nice of you to come on. Thank you.
I am so thrilled to be asked. I can't tell you. This is one of the best. Yeah, it's one of the best things about this has been sort of, reconnecting with people in a way because so often you need an excuse almost.
Yes,
and
yeah.
You sort of out of sight, out of mind, all that kind of thing. And one of the really fun things about this has been kind of just old friends popping up, being like, "Oh, everyone's doing podcasts now with the greatest of respects," and everyone being like, "Oh, yeah."
Not everyone's.
But not everyone's. No, not everyone's this.
Not everyone was temporarily number one for nearly 4 days.
As Alistair Campbell came.
Alistair Campbell.
Bloody old Alistair Campbell.
How are you?
Can't you be on every week? I'm very well.
Are you?
Yes.
Because you, I feel like I'm saying UK in my head when I would never say that, but because you live in America, are you currently in the UK?
Yes, I'm temporarily UK side.
God, I said UK earlier.
I know, I let it go, David. But
whatever. What should you say?
The over here.
Okay.
I am over here. Yeah, I'm in Wrexham at the moment. Yeah.
Oh, you're in Wrexham?
Are you?
I am. Yes. Yeah.
Now, can I just say, I've only watched the first 4 eps.
I've watched 6.
So I know only up to a certain point.
Also, got to be careful about spoilers.
Yeah,
Yes.
and for listeners as well, I guess. But do you have digs in Wrexham now then?
No, but I've got a spot here where I am right now where I found. I sort of trial and errored a few different places when I first came over here. It's just get an Airbnb basically, or try and strike up an arrangement. And I found this great place, which it's a pub, sort of about 10, 15 minutes from the racecourse, and they've got a little cottage out the back that they Airbnb. And it's great because it has 2 rooms, 2 bedrooms, so I can get friends to come out and stay. And I found early on I get very lonely. I had a really nice one bedroom one that was brilliant, but I was just I would just come back from work and I'd sort of sit and just watch Pointless on my own and be like, this is a bit bleak. Apart from when my wife would come. So then from then on, I worked out about a year ago, I found this place and was like, oh, this is brilliant because I can try and get friends to come to a game and stay over and then head back because it's a bit of a schlep from London. But weirdly, one of my very sort of dearest friends from university, she moved to Anglesey. She started dating a fighter pilot and lives in Anglesey.
We've all done it.
As you do.
Yeah,
We've all done it.
It's a phase, mate.
She'll grow out of it. Yeah.
He has got some broad old shoulders in my mind, that guy.
He's incredibly handsome and really nice. I was like, oh, come on, mate. Give us he's a squadron leader. His job title is squadron leader. And you're like, all right.
Can we get him on the pod?
Yeah,
He's definitely be better than me. Yeah, he's come down to the race course a few times. Yes, yeah, he's already. It's in his job title. I'm not. I think I'm in the squadron that he leads.
Yeah. I'm trying to work out where to start with this whole. So I sort of want to know what you've been up to, Humphrey.
Well, because I was just thinking then. Obviously, my life, my view of your life is at where I've got to in my series. Obviously, you're a lot further in your life than that now. But at the moment, that's where you are in my life. But you're like, you're a year and a half, a year ahead of where you should be in my head, basically.
Right. Yes, of course. Yes. Yeah. You're expecting kind of, what would I be? Sort of. Maybe May 2021 me, and instead I'm October 2022.
I think I'm looking at Christmas 2020.
I'm just before Christmas.
Yeah,
because the weather's. But I think it's almost. I think I'm almost a year behind.
But you're 6 episodes in, right?
I'm a bit of the way into 6.
We're watching 5 tonight. I'm just after Paul Mullins' opening.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm Mullins in. I've had a good chunk of Mullins.
Yeah, the first 2 episodes covers basically November 2020 through to June 2021. So you're watching. What you're watching is last season.
I've just realised. Sorry, 5.
Yes, because the supporters are in,
I think you've jumped ahead in 6. Yeah. I think. Yes, I think.
Yeah, there's a big jump.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we filmed all the way through like the COVID season, and they were gonna. I think there was a version of the documentary. The plan for the documentary was to come out last summer, and it was going to cover the whole of that. So it was going to be much more in depth on the Dean Keats season with the players that we inherited and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think the channel in the end they watched it and they're like, "Oh, it's great," but it just without the fans, it doesn't feel. You miss the kind of the whole point of it,
don't you? Really?
Yeah. You just really get those first 2 episodes.
Can I ask a question about Dean Keats? There's a scene where you go and introduce yourself to the squad with Dean, and I felt so sorry for you. Was it as awkward as the editing made it out to be?
It was a bit, but I'll say, to be fair, I mean, first of all, God bless you for having my back retroactively in this documentary. but feeling bad for me as far as you're concerned.
Yesterday.
Yeah. So listen, it was very weird for them. It was weird for me. It was weird for
nervous?
them. Oh, yeah, I was terrified.
Oh, my God. I thought you used wonderful words, though. I thought you held your nerve.
Thank you, Dave. You're very kind.
Because I was imagining me doing it. And just drying up and just staring at them.
Can we explain what happened? In the documentary, it's when you come in and you meet the players and some of the management staff.
Yeah.
And you explain who you are and what's going to happen, basically.
Yeah.
And you sort of say, oh, this is my role and I'll be... you were lovely, sort of saying, I won't get involved in this, but this is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And they were frosty as fuck.
But it's when you said, I'm a writer.
Yeah.
I've got nothing to do.
You were editing that in your head at the time, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, very much so. Shit, why did I go down this path? Yeah. No, I mean, you said it was dry. I had the driest mouth I've ever had, I mean, it was like I had just put a spoonful of sort of sand in my mouth. It was very nerve-wracking. I will say that I had already met Dean and Andy and Carl, who were his 2 kind of assistants and stuff. We had met a little bit and chatted a little bit prior to that, because the weird thing was I got to Wrexham in November because we pretty much right after that Zoom where they kind of persuaded the fans to give them a shot, I came over in anticipation of like, well, it'll go through in the next like 2 weeks. So I got over here
ahead of time.
and Yeah, and I met, the club secretary and all the very few members of like permanent staff that we had here then. And I met Dean and stuff, but I was like, I'm not going to introduce myself to the players until we actually are, till it's a bit realer. And that process took like 4 months. So I was in Wrexham. Yeah, I was in Wrexham. And what we started to do was go like, well, look, it's going to go. We knew it would go through. We just hadn't got the official, like the paperwork hadn't gone through. So we started to kind of, I wouldn't, shadow run the club is way too strong a way of putting it. But we were like in there and around there, and I started like, looking in boxes and opening up cupboards and being like, oh, there's that bit of me finding Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
I think they've definitely cherry picked the most embarrassing moments of me looking like a fuckwit. And God bless them for their kindness. And stuff, but yeah, it was only when it was like sort of more confirmed that I came in and talked to the players and stuff, and we did, they cut out a bit. There's a bit of me being like, "What do you guys want?" And then being like, "A coffee machine," and we got them a coffee machine and things like that. And but it was, genuinely the reverse angle, which I don't know if I can't remember. I found it quite difficult to watch that bit, so I've definitely shot through it. I don't remember.
Immediately bring it up.
No. That is the bit that there's a bit coming up in like episode 13. You'll watch and be like, "Oh God, your assholes will absolutely shut watching that on my behalf."
I'll be honest with you. I'm trying to work out what your role is.
Well, I'm executive director. So what that means? Yeah.
Can we explain to the audience, because I think I did a terrible setup. So you work for Wrexham Football Club, which you have basically been employed by Ryan Reynolds and Rob McAnally. I never say his name. McElhenney. And Rob from writing on
Mythic Quest, his show on Apple TV. Yeah, right. So I've worked for him for like 3 or 4 years.
I remember you being a big football fan, and obviously in the documentary he talks about a mate who's a big football fan, which I assumed was you before we met you.
Yeah, that is me.
So he was talking about a big football fan, and then he comes up with this, which I guess is your influence talking about football. He gets into football and he decides he wants to buy a club. Then you appear, and it's like it feels like you're the person who's going to be ground zero, basically. I worked for him as a writer, and I would watch a bunch of football in the writers' room on our lunch break, because that would coincide. We'd stop at 12, and that would coincide with 8 p.m. Premier League, Champions League kickoffs and stuff. And we all sit around a big table eating our lunch, and I just have my laptop open and I have the game on silent, so I just was like, could be aware of it, and not be totally antisocial. And he sort of always slightly made fun of me for it, very American, very like, there's not enough points, they always pass sideways and they're always flopping and like all this stuff they love banging on about. But it was kind of right in 2019 that Liverpool were on their way to the Champions League final in Madrid, and they kept having these incredible games. They had the Barcelona comeback and stuff, and he started to be like, I'd be able to explain the context a bit more. Like, well, if they win this game, they do this, and he was intrigued by the fact they were playing European teams and stuff, because obviously in America it's all so like enclosed. And I'd be like, oh, that's Barcelona, that's Messi's team. That's then they've all heard of Messi, and it just
they have heard of him, have they?
They've heard of Messi. Oh yeah, football's getting bigger and bigger in the States. I'll say, to be fair to them,
more players coming over. There's actually
more players coming over. And the MLS, the standard of their football is going up and up and up, and that's definitely increasing the interest. And anyway, long story short, I got him saying into it, and then in lockdown I made him watch Sunderland Till I Die, because I was like, that's good, that will explain to you what that like fabric, why we care about our football team so much, and why that sort of religious, because over there it's like he's a big Eagles fan, but he also loves the Phillies and the 76ers, and so he spends a third of the year watching a different sport. So he's got football in the winter, then it's basketball, and then it's baseball in the summer. And I was like, well, with us, it's football all year round. I mean, you get a month off, but that's just all transfer speculation, basically, and we can't wait.
World Cup.
And then the World Cup, exactly. Yeah. And He loved it. I mean, he texted me and was like, "I've watched." He watched the first episode, wasn't that into it. His wife went away for the weekend. He's like, "I'll watch episode 2. Like, why not? Just see." And then watched episodes 2 through 8 or whatever the first season in one sitting, and then just went straight into season 2 and watched the whole of that. So he said he watched like 14 hours of the documentary in one sitting.
My own heart.
Yes, indeed. We've all done it. When our wife goes, wives go out of town. It's time to time to really destroy
That's what
yourself.
this one feels like, though, for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't watched one as good as Sunderland until start watching that.
Yeah. Well, and he was so he texted me and was like, "Oh, it's incredible. We should do this. We should buy a football team." And I was like, "Yeah, sounds wicked." And so how much do you
stuff like that?
How much do you think you pay me? I can't buy a football team.
Yeah.
And but he was like, "No, but seriously, like, how much would it cost to buy a football team?" I was like, "Well, if you want to buy Chelsea, it'll cost you like £1.5 billion, which I suspect you don't have. But if you went further down, you could go below where Sunderland are now, because that was the frame of reference for him. Go down below League One, below League Two, and you get the National
How
League.
much are they in League Two?
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, so what we were told was like about £2 million was likely to get you a club of some description, and we tested that theory in the National League.
No, it doesn't, does it?
Now, when you think of the context of like a house in London or something,
Right.
You know
Yes,
what I mean?
you could. Yes, that's it. You could buy a 2-bedroom house in Wandsworth, or you can buy a National League football. You can buy Notts County.
Yeah.
Yes. Imagine you're estate agent. You're like, oh well, look. I know you like this one.
Yeah, it comes
this one's
with
great.
Close
to good schools.
Seats, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, we looked into it and we discovered that Wrexham. I sort of was tasked with, well, what club should we buy? What's a good one? And,
Oh my
and
God!
why?
What a mental. Okay,
It's crazy.
Go and find me what team to buy. Sure.
He was like,
Fuck me.
you did 2 series on BBC Radio 4 Extra of a sketch show. That probably qualifies you to find a football
As
club.
you almost said in that frosty meeting.
Yes, I was almost like,
I have had 2. I was nominated for the Perrier.
one best newcomer, and that's when it really turned around.
Which,
They didn't show that bit. Is that after I came back in, I got out my Dave.com
I'd
comedy
loved it
award,
if you'd done your
slammed it on the table.
done your Edinburgh show for them.
That was based on like me talking to a group of people. That was
a good show.
The premise of that show was him addressing an audience.
Show, by the way.
Thank you, Joe. God bless you. I remember you coming.
Oh, it was brilliant. Anyway, so
so he was like, what team should we buy? And I made a little sort of matrix. I looked at like 8 teams in the National League and the National League North and South, and like 1 in League
Can I ask
2.
a quick question? Are clubs up for sale, or were you just... I know it's probably a really stupid... Do you just go, there's the possibility of...
At this level, it's more you literally phone in. If you sort of call the owner or call the chairman and be like, how are you feeling about it?
I reckon there's a few up for sale at the drop of a hat, because it's
yes, for sure. I mean, I think we lots of the places we contacted, especially because it was mid-COVID, so lots of them were like, how the fuck are we going to pay our bills for this?
Yeah.
Is that you contacting them as well? Are you?
No.
Right.
Luckily, we found some guys called Inner Circle Sports who do. This is what they do. They broker deals between different sports clubs and things, and they've done like Liverpool to Fenway Sports Group, and they've done, you go on their website and it's like, oh wow, these are all very big and fancy. And I don't think they would ever normally get involved in a National League deal, but because of who it was that was asking, I think they were like, oh yeah, all right, we'll get involved.
How were you feeling? Were you like, oh, this is good fun? Ooh.
I was like, this is mental. It's not really going to happen, is it?
Yeah.
It felt like a sort of pub conversation that got out of hand.
Yeah.
Albeit,
Imagine if all pub conversations happened.
yes, right. Everybody actually
fuck me.
went through with it.
Yeah.
People being shot out of cannons and stuff.
Be some cracking series.
Yes.
There's your new show.
There's a new documentary.
Yeah.
Pub conversations made real. Yeah. But yes, throughout the whole thing, I was like, I just kept turning to my wife and being like, this broke. He's called like a proper. There's like proper people starting to get involved.
He's a doer.
He's such a doer. That is the biggest.
He really comes across
thing about him. He just does it and is impatient. He just wants to do it. It's like 46 or something.
He's got a lovely pair of arms.
Fucking
lovely. He's very athletic.
Yeah,
very athletic.
Both of them lovely bodies.
I know. Yes, that's a bad thing.
Three of you lovely bodies.
Rob gets upset standing next to me and Ryan because he's a bit shorter than we are.
Right.
But the whole time I was like, you fucking look at me. I'm this great sort of slug that's got to stand next to you two.
Yeah, I'd stand on the opposite side of the room, generally.
I do my best. But then everyone else is a footballer, so you're like, oh, great. There's just no escape.
Yeah, I have to be honest, the normal people are next to footballers and superstars.
I know.
Look,
it's a strong juxtaposition.
Yeah.
So, it just gathered momentum. And then he texted me one day and was like, "Oh, we should get a front of shirt sponsor, right? That's the thing you have. Like you get like a brand on your shirt."
Was this
like,
yeah. Or before?
No, this is before. This is still while we're
ahead.
So at this stage, I had already said we should get Wrexham because I found that they had
your choice. That's
a big. I know, me too. That's the one thing I'll always be able to cling on to. When I get fired in disgrace in like 3 or 4 years' time, I'll always go, "But I picked the team.
Yeah.
It was me. I picked it."
Boo!
Yes, I get booed out of the stadium.
Get Humphrey out!
Yeah, as I'm being torn to pieces in Wrexham General train station. I'll be like, but I brought them here. But we picked the team and stuff, and he was like, when this is before it went through though. I don't think we'd even contacted Wrexham at this stage. But Rob is someone who just goes from 0 to 100. Like he's just, once he's on something, he's like a dog with a bone. He's just like, all he was doing all day was like Wrexham stuff. It's just like, I'm making this happen. And he contacted Ryan and said, and I mean, you've seen this bit in the documentary, I think. Like he just sent him a message on Instagram.
So they didn't know each other,
friends.
did they?
Literally never met. No.
It's so bizarre.
I know. And that's probably true. That's not made up for the documentary. It's like they knew of each other because Ryan liked watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and Rob had heard of Ryan, obviously.
Why did he pick Ryan?
Because Ryan owns a gin company, Aviation Gin. He's like, I'll ask him if he wants to spy. And Ryan likes doing weird and wonderful stuff. So he asked him, will you put Aviation Gin on the shirt? And Ryan texted him back, basically, or sent him a message back with, like, this is my mobile, like, call me. And he called him, and he was like, I want to do this with you. This sounds insane and amazing. And so he did. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. And so then suddenly it took on a whole new life, because before it was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon you can find a way, maybe we can make a documentary about it, and it could be this, it could be that, and the other. And then you put him into the mix, and it's like, oh, well, now there's definitely going to be a documentary if anyone wants it. Like, someone will buy that off us, and there'll definitely be people lining up to kind of sponsor us and do all sorts of things, get involved with it and take part. And that's sort of how it's turned out.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
And so where you're sort of just being dragged along, like, because you keep being.
I am definitely being dragged along.
Because you kind of say, you go, I'm the so-called expert because you're English and you love football, but you've got all knowledge about everything else. So you're
how to run a football club.
So they're going, buy a club. What are you on about? And now, are you like the direct? You're a director of what?
So what I do, so I sit on the board, basically. So what it means is that, like, where I sit in the company structure, basically, is that I can legally commit the club to things. So I put my signature on a lot of stuff. That's a lot of what I'm sort of doing. Does obviously come with the thing, if something goes really badly wrong, I'm the person who gets sent to jail. Basically, my name's genuinely, if I sign certificates, so let's say the stand is safe and the stand collapses, it's like me that'll go away for 5 years.
I see why they've used you now.
Yeah, you can see it slowly but surely. It's like, oh, I get it. Yeah. I'm the stool pigeon.
Themselves from the old crumbling stadium.
Yeah,
right. So
yeah, so and I've disposed of a lot of evidence for them and that kind of thing. They've just. I get an envelope every now and then where I shred documents to do with their other businesses, and yeah.
So right. So what's nuts now is, like, Tellyland is like, oh, you make a documentary, but you're doing this.
I'm still here, yeah.
Cameras
still ongoing.
There and everything. You are.
Yeah.
You run a football club.
What is your life now? Like Monday to Friday?
So, Monday to Friday. So in the last 2 years, which is about how long we've been doing this, I think November 2020 to like November 2022 will be when it's been 2 years of us like doing this properly, intensively. It was about May to November when we were talking, and he was talking to Ryan, and we were finding the broker, and we were looking at teams, and that whole period sort of wasn't that intense. It was just a thing where like, oh, we've got a response to this email, and like now we do this. So since then, I've spent I think probably about 9, 10, 11 months out of the 2 years here. So I come back and forth a lot.
Are you not right? Obviously, you're not writing comedy.
No, well, I am and I'm not.
You're a writer.
Yeah.
Are you sitting there going, what the fuck am I doing here for?
All the time. All the time. And I mean, genuinely, it'll be all sorts of things where I'm like, oh my God, what's happening?
Because you work really hard to get into a position where you're writing on the big shows, and suddenly you're in Wrexham running a football club. That's a left turn, isn't it?
It's the leftist turn. It's like a full 180. I've gone left and left again. Yeah, no, it's mad. I mean, it's wonderful, and that's what I have to. I remind myself, because there are days when it's very tough, and there are days when it's frustrating, and there are days when I'm like, well, wasn't it great just you've done all that, exactly. Got done my apprenticeship. Worked my way up, got into the position, doing the job that I always wanted, and now you're doing this other job, which you are not. But you're out of your depth. I'm out of my depth all the time.
And
to be honest,
really hard work? Is it? I imagine, of course, it is. You're running. You like
Joe. He's on Chatterbix at 6 o'clock,
and he's high as a kite.
Yeah. I'm very drunk. It should be
he's
said.
He's smoking massive marijuana joint. He's fine.
It isn't actually, and the reason for that is that I'm more than ably supported by the people that like we hired who knew what they were doing. So Sean and Fleur, who you see in the documentary, Fleur's our CEO, so she does like.
Said she didn't want to be in it much.
Didn't want to be in it. Yeah.
Made me laugh. I was like,
yes, right.
We see like 40 seconds of her, and then it's like. Yeah, she said
she's like, cheers, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, don't put me on your shit.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. There are a few other people. So some of the players are like, I just don't really want to do it. It's like, oh, okay, well, we might catch you in during matches, and they're like, yeah, that's fine,
really,
but I don't want to.
Players just don't want to.
Yeah, some of them don't. Some of them do. Some of them don't. And I think there were some probably who got filmed, and some members of staff who got filmed who they ultimately like didn't use, or they'll use in the next series or whatever. But I mean, in terms of the hard work, it's like because of the two of them who like. They're both incredibly experienced and have done it, for a long time at like a high level. My workload has got less and less. To start off with, when we came in, it was really labour intensive and quite stressful. I mean, that period, as I say, from November, I was here November to March of 2020 through 2021. That was the big, really long chunk I did. And by the end of that, I was like, oh my God, this is pretty crazy, because when we took over, the club was very threadbare. They were kind of circling the drain a little bit, and they were losing more and more staff just to keep the lights on and keep the money on the pitch.
Because it was like mainly volunteers. You talk about that.
Mainly volunteers, and mainly basically the budget was every year the fans would have a whip round at the end of the season, and as the club did less well, fans would be less inclined to put money in. They would just be. You think come the end of the year, you're like. Oh, am I really going to give another £100 when we're going to finish 12th? And we were just slowly going down. So when we came in, Sean Harvey had already come on board at that stage. There's a strategic advisor who you'll have seen in the documentary, and he, knows he maybe.
Is he the guy? Who's the guy that is there straight off? That there's you. Rob
was he at Everton or something?
He was at Leeds and Bradford before, and he ran the EFL for 20 years.
Yes.
He worked in football for 26 years. He ran the EFL for 6 years or something. So he really knows his onions. And he and I basically came in and were just fighting fires all the time, because we had half a season without any fans in, but we were truly dreading, and I say that if any Wrexham fans are listening, you know what I mean by dreading. We were dreading having fans back, because we were just like, what are we going to do? The stadium hasn't been open in 2 years. The roof is leaking. The toilets don't work. Like all these things that hadn't happened. And we knew when they came back, we were going to get massive crowds, because people are excited and intrigued. And
What
going
does
on.
it hold, that stadium?
10,000 theoretically, like virtually on the note, 10,150 or something.
For some reason, I thought it was bigger because they.
And what was it? How many people were coming through the gates when you turned up before?
Before you
the
took
season
it over.
so in the 1920 season, which was the COVID shortened season, which was the last one they had fans in for, they were averaging about 4,500 a week, which is one of the main reasons.
That is
it's
not
great.
bad for
Incredible.
the league you're in. That's bloody.
Oh, and they were 19th in the National League as well. They were flirting with relegation. So that was like that was the thing that made us come to Wrexham, because we were like, well, look, if you're getting 4,500 a week when they are playing badly,
you can fill that stadium
and think what will happen if we start doing well. And that's exactly what it's proved. We almost immediately, our first game back, we had like 8,500, and then now we're sold out pretty much every game. We played FA Cup fourth qualifying round yesterday against Blythe Spartans. We had 6,500 in, which is our biggest FA Cup crowd since we played Brighton in 2013 or something. It's mad.
When he said Blythe Spartans, did you think of?
Yeah, Rose.
We did wrote a sitcom about football a few years ago. We took all the little names of the clubs, all the names of the clubs, and they were talking about playing Blythe Spartans the next year and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
That was what they were aiming for.
Right.
Next year we'll be playing. If we go up, we'll be playing Blythe. Troyles.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I love. That's one of the things that, and I know that you guys are lovers of lower league football as well. And Dave, I'm enjoying listening to your adventures with Exeter City and what have you. We tried to sign an Exeter player in January last year.
Who?
Not last year, the year before. Alex Fisher.
I don't know him.
Might be before,
I think he might have
time.
gone on. I think he's gone on since then. Big, tall,
I bet you'll come sniffing when you're in January.
Oh, we'll be all over you like snakes. You've got any?
I bet you will.
We'll be hissing around trying to gobble you up.
It sounds so grown up to me, all this.
That is the thing. The fun thing about talking to you guys is that I've done a few podcasts talking about football and stuff, but you guys know so well what my life was before this, and so you also understand how absurd it is and the enormity of it.
That's what I was saying. That's what I think I said to David because I was away and I watched a bit and I was like, I think Humphrey Ker runs a football club. do you remember Humphrey? He used to do gigs to 7 people with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Seb Cardinal's a gymnast now.
Yeah. Yeah, the birthday girls run AC Milan.
Yeah.
It's just such a... It's a head screwer.
I feel like I'd wake up every morning going, I don't know what I'm doing.
I mean, listen, there's definitely days like that, and there's elements of that. I mean, as I say, I've been really well assisted and protected and things by Sean and Fleur, because they've yanked my fat out of the fire a few times where I've been like, blind, just... The thing about it being very grown up, it does feel really grown up. What we're used to, which we all quite like, I think, is that our responsibilities are to like us, our partners, kids if you've got them, but not that many more people. Like we're ultimately we sort of live and die by what we do personally. And being part of a big organization like this is it's been a real culture shock and something that's been quite tough to get used to for me. Like, I have to understand about like HR and, there are processes and like, if you, things that you can and can't do legally with employees and things like that. Nothing crazy, but like nothing, not me being like, I want to do anything too mad, but just those situations where I'm like, well, can't we just say sorry and do X, Y, and Z? And they're like, no, you can't say sorry. Like, you can't, it doesn't work like that. Because if you say, you're culpable for, all this sort of thing. And, we just do like health and safety is a very big deal. Like, we have to, there's lots of corporate training and stuff that we have to do that I never had to do in any job I've done before. And that's the stuff that does feel very grown up, and the stuff that I sometimes find a bit overwhelming. Because I'm like, oh God, like here's another gigantic form that I've got to fill out or sign. Are you like, because I just think of stuff that just in my very day-to-day life, I'm not very organised. I can do one thing at a time. I don't like stuff just drifts in my life. I can't imagine. I'm the least equipped. I don't know. Like, are you finding yourself sort of being like, oh, I can do
like I can do stuff that I thought I
I'm
couldn't
getting a bit better, I think. But like, no, I mean, that definitely was the thing early on. I'd suddenly, it sounds so stupid, but yeah, I'd always been like, oh, I'm a Gmail boy. I know how to use Gmail. That's good. And then it was like, well, all the club emails on Microsoft, their email. I can't remember what it's called, Microsoft Outlook, you know. And I get in there and be like, I can't. How do I attach an image? Like, how do I like?
Yeah.
I just like about 3 times I replied all on like an email that I was clearly supposed to be replying to one person because I couldn't work out the icons on Microsoft.
You spend your whole life sort of training a part of your brain for your job, you know what I mean? And no disrespect to us, but that bit of our brain is just melted away, really.
So completely,
you know what I mean? So you're sort of trying to make that bit of your brain work for the first time in 40 years, basically, because you're not just pissing about, basically.
Yeah, and there's a mindset where it's like, you know, again, in our line of work, it's generally pretty collaborative. Everyone's quite friendly. Or, you know, it's kind of a, you know, there's a degree of competition for work and things, but ultimately, you know, we you're trying to persuade other people to pay you to do the work we do and stuff. And then you come into this, you're like, oh, this is a competitive environment. Like we are in competition with the other teams we come up against, and we are, you know, we're respectful and we're polite and we're this, that, and the other, but like at the same time we're looking to gain an advantage, and like they'll take advantage of us if they can, and all this kind of stuff.
This is meant.
Yeah.
I said to my wife, like I said about last month, I said, you know what, if comedy falls by the wayside, I really wouldn't mind working for a football club. And I genuinely was like, I think I might approach Exeter, see if I can just work in their offices. I just love the idea of working for a group of people, a team, and you're looking towards the weekend that's coming up.
Yeah.
And that game. And if they win, you're on a high, and if they lose, it's just
I've always thought about being the kit man. I think that's my dream, because you're so close to the action, you're right in the middle of it, but none of the responsibility, apart from as everyone's got what they need and blah blah blah, you're in the hub, but you haven't got the real weight of
it's such an important role, because so much of it is like you are one of the lads, but also not one of the lads, and that means that you are, you know, if you lose, you know, like you and our kit man, I think, like Ed's just he was actually assistant groundsman, and during the COVID period, our kit man was a bit of an older fella, and he decided that it wasn't really safe, so he decided to retire. And Ewan kind of fell into that, so he's like, well, I'll do that as well, because there wasn't as much work needed on the grounds. And he was just great at it, because they all love him. He's really fun, lovely, sweet man. He's always got a kind of joke going on, and yeah, when they lose. When they win, he's one of the gang, and when they lose, he's just enough like outside of the gang, I think, that he can put his arm around and be like, hey, don't worry, it wasn't like, you know, none of it falls on him, but he can sort of suck a bit of it out of them, if that makes sense. You'd be great, Joe.
You really would.
I think I was literally thinking about if I would be a good one.
Yeah.
I think I'd be grating, actually.
Definitely.
No, I think...
Definitely. No, grating?
I think I'd be grating on the players, I think.
No, great at it.
No, I think I would be grating rather than grating.
No, we're chopping your ing off here. We're chopping your ing. We're going to take the ing. No, I think you'd be great at it, because it is that thing of like, it is just someone who is, you know, Ewan is very cheerful and just is, you know, works hard. But I think, again, the joy that he's a big Wrexham fan. He's from the area, you know, played a lot of football as a lad, and then I think didn't, you know, make the grade, essentially, which is the same with Charlie, our groundsman. They both guys were like, yeah, I loved it. And I just reached a level where I was like, oh, I can't keep up at this stage. And so they, you know, they love working for the club, and they get the thing I was going to say to you that, about working for a football club, the single best thing for me still, every time I go there, is I've got, I don't have it in my jacket, I didn't bring it in from the car, but I've got my little jacket with the badge on, and like walking into the stadium with the badge on and being like, yeah, I've done it a million times going as a fan, you know, and you're like, well, I'm one of the, you know, I'm part of the fandom, but it's not quite the same thing when you're like, oh yeah. Like when people make fun of me for saying like, oh yeah, we got beaten at the weekend, and people are like, you didn't get beaten, you don't play for them, you know, kind of thing. Now I'm like, no one can do that to me anymore. that feels really good.
You're the proper we. You're the proper we.
I am the we. I can say we. Oh yeah.
My God.
How many losses on the trot would you have to experience before you start worrying
What, and you
in
think
your
about
position.
and thinking about your position,
Because I've always just thought the managers, but not your. And I look at him on the sideline and go, okay, if you have one loss, that's a 2. That's not great. 3, shit. When does it start becoming a worry?
So for me and my position, it's interesting. I'd say both one game because our fans. Football fans in general tend to have very strong reactions to whatever's happening. So I'll say on the Saturday night after we lose, it's not a lot of fun. But then usually by Monday morning, everyone's calmed down a little bit. And, especially this season where we've started really well and we're scoring a lot of goals. And, we've had...
Right up there, aren't you?
Yeah, we're 1 point off the top. And
Who's top? I thought
Notts County.
Notts County. Because there's some teams around you. I just think of.
Yes, so they were higher. Yeah, I mean the National League's got some really good big clubs in it. Us, Chesterfield, Notts County.
Yeah.
They've also got Dorking. Have they got Dorking?
We do have Dorking Wanderers.
And
nuts.
Bromley's in there, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love that when those sort of teams they come into we played Stevenage the other day, who are top.
Yes, yeah.
And you're like,
they're flying.
It's like, bloody hell, Stevenage. I think, this just sounds weird because I've still got Notts Counties and people in my head as league teams.
There's a sort of certain point where you feels like you lock in the 92 league clubs into your head.
Yeah,
and then everything after that, you're like, what?
You're most obsessed with football, you lock down. And actually lock down top. Yeah.
Oldham are in the National League with us now, and they, I think of them. I still think of them as a Premier League club. Really, Scunthorpe's in there.
When was the Premiership? Probably not 20 years. Less than 20
years. It was like 93-ish, 93, 94. They were there.
Flipping hell.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sorry, I go back to
what was the question?
Just how many losses until you go? We've got to talk to the manager.
Well, I mean, it all changes depending on the situation you're in. Because it depends on the nature of the loss, right? If actually, as it happens, we played 13 games, we've lost twice, and that's been we've been away at our 2 biggest sort of title rivals. So although our fans are very upset, and various people are like, oh god, we can't afford to lose these guys, a 6-pointer, you're like, well, that's a game you expect to lose, right? If you're going to lose, we'll probably lose, I don't know, 5 or 6 games this season, probably. And if they're going to be away at teams that are tough to play at. If it was like 2 or 3 games in a row, if you lost 3 in a row, maybe you're like, well, hang on, what are the conditions here? But if we lost 3 games in a row at home, then then I think probably you do start asking questions. Then
that just seems so. Like something that could easily happen. You've got no control really over your team. You just put them out on the pitch.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about football, though, isn't it? There's a million things, but you have to sort of take it like you're in control of everything, even though you're in control of so little of it. It's a ball bouncing around a pitch, but you give yourself as much chance for that ball to go in the right direction. You know what I mean? There's so many random elements, but you have to take it as almost factual.
Yeah. Well, that's why, as I say, you would you try and examine each one, and I think one thing that the board, myself and Rob and Ryan, but really, I mean, there's Rob and Ryan, and then there's 100-foot drop, and then there's me. One of the things we talked about all the way through is like, look, just look, we don't really, I'm going to say I don't know that much about what I'm doing. But I have been a football fan for 30 odd years, and I watch it obsessively, and I watch football from all around the world, and I try to have a relatively, when it comes to Liverpool, who is the team that I've supported since I was a boy, I've always been quite sanguine. I've always been quite like, well, you win some, you lose some. I can watch a game and go like, I think I can watch a game where Liverpool win 5-0 and go like, oh, we weren't actually that good, but we just got the rub of the green, and watch games where we've lost 2-1 and be like, oh, we were sensational, we just didn't get the right chance. So you've got to try and address it, look at it that way. And we've always said, we'll let the football people sort of decide what's going on football wise. It would have to be, with the way things are going now, and the culture that Phil has instilled at the club, which we really like, and the kind of the energy around the building, you'd have to be like something truly catastrophic would have to happen in order to kind of throw things off to a certain extent. Because I do think people, when you look at like Watford and places like that, where they just churn through managers, you're like, that can't help. Because it takes time to get everybody, to meet everybody, understand each other, know everybody,
It's been Chelsea's problem. I always thought Man City were quite good at that. When they first got some money, they didn't fire managers at the rate that Chelsea did. So they not that is it Mancini who was the first manager, but they
yeah. Who they got? Well, they got like Sven-Göran Eriksson, didn't they? Briefly, there was a weird period that
was he like an interim?
I
remember Mancini getting a few years and not doing. Was doing well for a club, but not for a club that spent lots of money. But they sort of put the grounding in.
I mean, there's just so much you have to do, and it takes time, and that's why City now are so terrifying. Is because their academy's incredible, their coaching's incredible, their scouting network's incredible. They've just done all that as well as because ultimately the manager, can do a lot. Is clearly a massively important person, but in the modern day game, it's like your recruitment team, your data team, your this, that, and the other. All that stuff's huge.
I really feel like we know someone who is behind the scenes. Like I feel like we've got an in real football. You know what I mean? Like you go, oh my god, you see all the stuff that we don't see. That's mad.
When I was watching the episode last night, it was sort of focusing on the players, new players. And
was this when like Mullins had been brought in and stuff?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But I was just looking at them going, okay, they've gone on this journey with you in this documentary. They can only go so far. If they get promoted, they won't be good enough, possibly. Like maybe in the next league, but not in the next league. So it's kind of there's a ceiling.
Well, some can step up and then some can't, I guess. So if you get your team up, I thought that with Brighton promotion, I watched the bus go past and I immediately thought, some of you aren't staying at the club.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, one of the things we've done, we've recruited a lot of players out of like League One and League Two.
Have you?
And so we splashed the cash a little bit. So Paul came from Cambridge, who'd been promoted. Yeah. Ollie Palmer, who you'll meet later on, who we got in January last year. He came down from Wimbledon. We bought a few players who've done well up there. So I mean, our hope is that this squad, with a few additions in the summer, could compete really pretty favourably in League Two as well.
You're getting ready to be up rather than sort of crawling.
I think I just saw there will be if you just kept climbing, there'll be a point.
Yeah, and I think the players they all kind of understand that. They're much more. It's weird because we're all so sort of, we are. I mean, obviously, Gillian fan and an Exeter City fan here, but like we so much of what we consume is Premier League, right? Yeah. We often think in those terms of like that absolutism. And for all these guys, they're like, there's a really good interview with snippet from Tyler French, who's one of our defenders, who says in the documentary where he's
Tyler French. I played with him on FIFA last week. Fantastic.
Maybe. Player. He's gone to Dundee. He went to Dundee in the summer. He's playing against Rangers tonight.
It was a massive part of that.
I think you've got in that big move.
Lovely kid, super guy. Yeah.
It's a bit of him saying like it's not it's not the Premier League or whatever, but it is like the dream is I'm playing professional football. I love it.
Absolutely.
So they're very. I'm always really impressed by how kind of sanguine they are about like, oh yeah, right. So I'm getting moved. Am I like who wants me? Like, oh yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, there are people who. Depending on where you are in your journey, there are a couple of our younger players, some of the young lads who are, early 20s. They're very cool. They're like, oh yeah, I'm moving to Gateshead. All right, great. And like, I'll go and that'll be fun.
Basically.
Yeah, I'm still playing professional football, and that's great. And again, obviously the dream is to get. Everyone wants a nice big new contract or wants to move further up the table. And we've got one lad who we think has got kind of championship and beyond potential. And we know we're like, well, he's probably not going to finish his career here unless we, progress up the leagues and he stays with us and plays 700 games.
But when we used to go and watch like non-league football, a lot further down than you guys, and we ended up talking to the chairman of Burgess Hill, I think, and he was like, they'd sold.
So they were Sussex. They're Sussex Div 1, so they'd be one below the Rymans or whatever.
Yeah, so a couple below you, I think.
Yeah.
And he basically said, they had a young lad. I think they just sold to, I can't remember who it was, but it was a decent chunk of money, like 75 grand. And he was like, well, that secured the club's future for 10 years. It was that brutal. It was like that kid, and with Sell-On, means the club will exist.
Sold Ollie Watkins and made
a
lot.
Well, and he plays a lot. He plays a lot as well, so they'd get so something like that. Do Wrexham have a kind of realism of going, we sell on, and that's money, and that was youth team stuff, and
that was definitely the model back in the day. And our big one from a few years ago was Danny Ward, who we sold to Liverpool with a sale fee. He's now starting for Leicester in goal. So when Leicester bought him off Liverpool, we got a big tranche of cash.
You keep getting that, don't you?
Like £1.2 million or something like that. But then we just got another payment the other day because he's now started a certain number of games for Leicester finally. So we just got a message being like, just got 75 grand, which, again, is no small change for a club at this level.
Yeah, I recommend getting one of those big screens where you can show the goals.
Oh, yeah. We've got one.
Well, ours is better.
Got any other suggestions?
What else? What would I suggest?
Joe, what do you want us to spend our 75 grand?
I would like a new tunnel.
Well, actually, we actually got a new one not that long ago.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm
sponsored by a local jewellery company, Clog.It. So thank you to Clog.It.
Big shout out to Clog.It.
Yes.
Clog.It.
Welsh, CLOGAU.
Right, lovely. That makes more sense.
Do you feel like you've got the confidence now, Humphrey, to go, not sure about that kid? I like the way he holds the
I stay away from
over like that.
I actually did I beckoned our captain over the other day like that. I was quite pleased with myself. I went into
shit out of you, I should imagine.
Do you know, the thing is, I'm 6'7" and I'm a big lump, but like when our centre backs come near me, I'm like, you're like a different species of person, because you're 6'5" and you are jacked, like you're a big muscle man. I'm terrified of them.
I saw I went to see Brighton play Spurs, and
what do they look like up close?
I thought Dyer. Did you Dyer plays centre back now? Did you think he was a small centre back?
I just thought he was sort of 5'11".
He's fucking massive.
Is he really?
But he looks to me like a small centre back, right? So he's one of the smaller ones. He's enormous, and just like I just bounce.
Is Kane big? Is Kane big?
Yeah. But like I didn't think he was
quite big.
Yeah. But then, like, he looks like a slightly slighter footballer, and you go, there's nothing slight about him. It's a unit. They're all unit. Yeah,
they're all massive.
There was a guy jogging past our house quite a lot, and in the lockdown, and I was like, that guy's fucking insane, like a little wasp waist and these enormous shoulders, right?
Those big triangular shoulders.
He turned out to be one of the players or whatever. And I was like, well, thank flip, because I was like,
yes, right.
That's like, okay, that's not the man that doesn't.
I can't feel bad about it. No. Yeah, I can't be made to feel bad about not looking like a Premier League footballer.
What are they going from? How the players were with you in that? How is your relationship with the players now? Do they know you well?
I think. I try not to sort of bother them too much, if that makes sense, because I'm fighting the urge to be like, I'm desperate to be sort of best friends with them, like a real loser. Yeah. And I worry that does radiate off me. I know, that's it completely.
I imagine you asking for a kick around with them and stuff.
Yeah,
going goal.
Yeah, Actually, I've never done that apart from once when Rob and Ryan came to visit for the first time. They kind of came in, like they were training on the race course that day. And Rob and Ryan came and met them all, and Rob kind of went on. He took a couple of penalties against one of our keepers, and then people were sort of milling around, like messing around, and I played a bit of headers and volleys with like two or three of the players.
Big stupid grin on your face.
Enormous. And I did actually. I hit one really good volley that was very satisfying in my trainers rather than my boots and stuff. and then like spun round. It was like, did anyone see that? And like no one had seen it.
None of them. Do they not say that was nice? That was
No, the couple of, actually, Phil and Steve, Phil the manager and Steve the assistant manager were like, oh, all right, that wasn't too bad.
Really patronised you.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, they know I'm a big child. They know how it goes.
Because I love the fact that. I was going to say, I love the fact that you catching one sweetly is something they do 5,000 times a day.
Times a day, yeah. Oh, I mean, it really was like a child being like, oh, I put the square block in the square hole. Like, look at this. And they were like, oh, yeah, good. Yeah, that's good, that is. Yeah. I played we did a staff game on the racecourse at the end of, not last season, the season before, which was really fun. That was great. We played with just like the grounds staff and the media team and a whole bunch of people.
How do you think you played?
I mean, I was so fat and out of shape. It was because it was like that was at the end
in the
of
garden. I thought he's played.
Yeah.
He's played.
I remember thinking how big your feet were, if I'm honest.
I know they're not that big, but I think it was optical illusion. The way the camera was positioned, all those Americans have got tiny feet. But that was really fun. I played okay. I scored a goal, which was the main thing. I scored a goal and got an assist, so I felt like I wasn't. Didn't disgrace
you know exactly how you played. You're replaying it in your head.
My big joke when I arrived was I kept saying to the documentary crew, like, "Do you think I should tell people that I scored a bicycle kick once in a real game, just to like establish my credentials?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Don't do that, don't do that." And I was like, "Maybe I'll just go and tell these guys that, just so you know, I have done it."
Yeah.
I do.
One thing that we keep mentioning, like literally every time it appears on the screen, Naomi, my wife, will go, "That's a nice house."
Sure.
The Rob's house. Yeah, I thought that.
Or it's got one of those infinity pools or something like that.
Oh yeah, it's a very nice house.
It's a lovely thing, the cut between the Wrexham like burger stall, and then you go zoom, and you're like,
Mm.
how much are you in contact with them each week?
I talk to them. I don't. I'd say on text and email every day. And actually speaking to on the phone. I talk to Rob more than I talk to Ryan, but that's probably because we we've known each other for longer, and I mean he works with my wife, and we're very interwoven our lives. Ryan, I go to with specific requests for things. There are certain a big part of my job is. People in the local community who are like, is there any way we could he possibly try and raise awareness about this, or could we get a little video for this fan who's having a tough time or something like that? And he's I will say this, he's amazing, like how quick I will get back just like a funny, charming little video of him, obviously shot in his kitchen.
Like a nice man, yeah.
So they're both. They drive me mad sometimes because they're my bosses, and that's what bosses do. They ask for things at the last minute or change their minds about something, but they are both fundamentally really good people.
Yeah, it comes across, I think.
Which is such a blessing, because having this job at all is a dream, But to be doing it for people who are just like, oh, just want to isn't this fun? And can't we do some cool things? And we had, to give an example, yesterday, as I said, we played Blythe Spartans in the FA Cup, and it was a replay. We were at their place on Saturday, 1-1 there. They came back here, and they sent a couple of coaches of fans down, and one of their coaches broke down in Lancaster. And I managed to get in touch with the guy on the bus and was like, we were trying to see what we could do to help to get them down here. And basically, I told Rob and Ryan, they're like, we'll pay for taxis. If you can, tell them if they get in taxis, we'll pay for them once they get to the stadium. And actually, they couldn't get here in the end. But it's there's just stuff like that where they're just this is all fun. We can do, and there's not really any advantage to us. I mean, I suppose that we can pat ourselves on the back for being didn't we help them out? But they just they just see stuff like that, and they're like, oh, here's a cool way to spend our money. I did Richard Herring's podcast the other day, and he was like, it is fun to watch effectively, billionaire, and they're not really billionaires, but sort of unimaginably rich people, rather than trying to build a rocket or do something weird.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, it makes me feel good when I do nice things for this town and these people.
Yeah.
So that is great for me.
How long do you think you'll be doing this for, Humphrey?
That's a good question. I think they are going to do this for a long time. And from talking to them, first of all, they will genuinely want to get to the Premier League. Like, that's what they are targeting.
If they do that, I love the idea of you sat in a box with, like, at Anfield or something. You're just like,
me too,
sat behind Alex Ferguson. Or something.
I also, talking about like getting so excited. So yesterday, it was being covered for ESPN in the States, and they had their kind of host team had Rob Earnshaw and Hal Robson-Kanu, who are both, you know, players that I have seen tearing it up in the Premier League and scoring great goals for Wales and stuff, and just being like meeting them and then being like, "Hey, how are you?" Like, yeah, we've seen you in the documentary. I'm like, oh, this is wild. So, you know, any amount of that, I get such a kick out of. So, but in terms of how long I'll do it, I mean, I'll do it as long as they'll have me, you know, and as long as sort of my wife and I can make it work, really, because I'm away from her a lot, which I don't really like. That's the downside. You know, I said earlier that I would sit in my flat and get quite lonely previously.
So how long do you spend over here before you go back again?
Well, now what I've started to do is come more often and for shorter periods of time. So what I used to do is come over for like 2 or 3 months at a time. And Meg would come, you know, for maybe a month of that, or sometimes 2 months of that if things worked out well. We've got a little dog now, though, so we don't want to leave her for a really long time. So the new plan is just to come for like a couple of weeks at a time here and there. And I will say that, because touch wood, we're really hoping for like a good end to this season. Our expectation is that we're going to get promoted this year. You know, ideally as champions, but if not champions, then via the playoffs.
Be nice to miss the playoffs, though, wouldn't it?
It would be, well, especially after last year, because we spoiler alert, we got banned. It was a strange thing. We went up, we went down, we did all sorts of things. But yes, suffice to say, it'd be really nice just to be, because especially in the National League, you've got one slot as champions, and then one for the playoffs.
Was saying, you go, one, because I knew that, but I hadn't really thought about it. I was like, that's so hard.
It's brutal, and that's why you've got these. You've got this chunk of really quite big clubs at the top of the National League, like us, Notts County, you know, whoever it may be, and then in the bottom of League Two, you've got a few clubs there that are like just circling the drain for like 5 years, where like they never win, they never do anything, but they just creep out of the relegation zone. Right. So, but yeah, because of that, I think I might come over here for like a good month in like April, May for the end of the season to enjoy, like March, April, May, around then, because hopefully it'll be an exciting time. And hopefully I'll get to go on a bus with a cup.
Go on the open top bus.
Can I ask one more question, Humphrey?
Of course.
How often are the camera crew? How often are they there? The documentary team?
Oh yeah.
And how much do they film?
So they film loads, and not all of it goes in. And you know, ultimately, I think there's probably 2 or 3 more documentaries worth of stuff that hasn't made it in. You know, that is just the town and the team and the fans and all that stuff. Which I one stage was like, you should do little like webisodes you can put on YouTube. It's just like 10 minutes on something that we didn't get to cover. But then, to be fair, they were like, well, we'll be able to use a lot of this in season 2, because they've been talking about, you know, there's loads of like the history of the club we haven't touched on, you know, former great players and you know, Wrexham used to play in Europe all the time because we won the Welsh Cup like virtually every year. They won 23 Welsh Cups, and that would put them in the Cup Winners' Cup. And so they beat Porto. They beat Porto in...
Beat Porto, or did you beat
Porto? They beat them. That's one of their best ever scouts, is they beat Porto 1-0. And I think it was. I think I'm getting this wrong. I think it was 0-0 in Portugal, and they won 1-0 here.
I didn't like
in
it.
like 1978 or something.
They did not like.
Didn't like him. No, sir.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. So you know, there's loads of amazing stuff that people have never sort of heard or seen. So I hope they'll do all that. But they just how often they're here. They come in. They're a bit targeted, so I think they come in like 2 or 3 days a week at the moment. Because you'll have days where it's like, they usually try and come in when the players are here, because obviously the players are such a big focus. And then they'll do another day a week where they're just out filming with people in town. But then they might do a sustain, like when Rob and Ryan come over here, they were like here for 10 days straight because they wanted to get all the before they came, and then them here, and then the reaction. And I know that they're talking about, they're going to be here a bit over the next few days because we just had the FA Cup, which I think they're interested in the FA Cup this year. They didn't really follow it last year. But this year they're like, oh, okay, because we're hoping we've got Oldham in the next round here, who we beat in the league already this season. So we're hoping we'll get past them, and then the dream is you get like
a league.
Do they go sniffing around you for stories, like as someone should be?
Yeah, they ask questions a little bit about like, oh, what's going on with this and that, and we do feed them stuff. I'm not like part of the documentary, but I will say, well, just so you know. I know you've been following this player pretty closely across the course of the year. Well, we've had an approach from this team, and we're thinking about it, because if you want to
die, basically.
Yeah, so you might want to get like the end of that is, so like, with Cat. Well, you haven't seen that far ahead, but yeah, you'll see little bits and pieces around January, where you're like, oh, this is interesting, and basically a big part of me being like, be in the car park tomorrow at 9 a.m. because a car's going to pull up and a player's going to get out of it who doesn't play for us yet, but will by the end of the day, kind of thing. Wow. And then obviously we're trying to keep that quiet from our fans as well, because they're desperate to know, and there's lots of fun chicanery in that way.
And I wonder how long they'll stick around at Wrexham, how long it'll be a documentary. And
yeah, that I don't know. I mean, Rob and Ryan, as I said, Rob said he wants to do it till he's 70. Ryan said he was like, I wanted to be doing this when I'm 70, about a month and a half ago. We were having a conversation. It's like, okay, great. Well, it's another 30 years basically of doing this, which is wild. How long the documentary? I don't know. We've got another series for sure.
Is it big in America though?
It's done really well in America.
That's
really well.
I love the subtitles. They're really funny. When Scout talks, really funny.
They've been really clever because Rob and Ryan, I think, are drawing a load of people in who wouldn't normally care.
Yeah.
And then they sort of, I mean, and you'll see this more as you watch on further. They kind of do a bit of a switch. They pull Rob and Ryan back a lot more, and you see a lot more of the town and the players, which is the stuff I love.
Yeah, me too.
Because only because I love the two of them, but I also spend lots of time with them, and so I'm less fascinated. But the town stuff, that's the stuff that I think the football fans, especially people in the UK,
that's why you start watching, because I'm just completely, well, I won't say that, but I'm sucked in with a fan at the moment. Just before you came on, I was going, I'm all right.
Oh God, get ready. Yeah. I mean, like as it goes on, because it does chart the life of a football club, and all sorts of things happen over the course of the year, and so you'll see things. Was that the bit with Scoot, the guy, the musician? Yeah, that's really touching, I think.
But it's just so real. It's just, I know it is real, stupid, but it's just like, I don't know. It's so, I don't know. It's just that's someone's life, and I'm watching it, and just there was one thing he said.
Move on from Scoot, please.
Yeah, but
so too many spoilers.
He said really got me. And I want to text it to you because you'll know what the line is, but I was just like, oh, wow.
No, sure. Well, do you know, I said earlier the best thing about this is like wearing the badge into the stadium, but the actually truly the best thing, this is really, slightly earnest, but we could be slightly earnest. Every now and then before a game, I often go out into the car park and I have a cigarette because I get really nervous. And someone will come up to me who'll be, like a sort of 65-year-old woman who'll be like, do you know, I used to come with my husband. I used to come here. I've been coming here for 30 years. For 30 years, as a huge Wrexham fan, I come with my husband. And when he died, I kept on. I stayed on. I kept coming all the time. But as the club started to like decay, I couldn't do it anymore because it would break my heart. And I'm now, I've got a season ticket again for the first time in however many years, and they'll like give you a hug and there's tears in their eyes and stuff, and you're just like, holy shit! For us, it's so fun and it's so exciting. But for the people who are born and bred, dyed in the wool Wrexham fans, it is. it's seeing a relative like brought back to life, basically from a moment where they really thought it was going to go, and that's the coolest thing. It was such a big distance.
When
and
that guy said his granddad
was
his ashes were on the corner flag, or whatever, it's like, oh wow.
Yeah. They've chosen really interesting people.
I actually walked around the pitch today and I saw a bunch of flowers behind one of the goals, just with the name of a fan on it. Someone's come in and dropped them off. It's just a place that means so much to them.
Right. Well, I think that's all.
Who have you got on? Who have you got on Saturday?
We're away at Boreham Wood on Saturday and home to Halifax on Tuesday. Boreham Wood a third. That'd be tough. If someone offered me a point now, I'd take it.
Well, Boreham Wood doing quite well.
Yeah, they're third, and they're brilliant. I've got a lot of their third. Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Boreham Wood because they're a brilliant like shit housing team. You know, they deploy all the dark arts, and they're like, it's a tough place to go. You know, and they're not dirty. They're not like there's nothing wrong with what they do, but they're always sort of feigning an injury and like pretending not to hear the referee's whistle, like blasting the ball out of the stadium, things like that.
I've witnessed loads of that in League One this year. So much time wasting, and
I
was just. Because you don't really see it in the Premier.
Well, I was listening to a bit of Ben Foster's podcast, and I can't find it. I watched the videos, and this Scouse fan said, "I hated you because it always looked like you were wasting loads of time." And Foster went, "Yeah, I do. Yeah, I waste loads of time." And they're like, "Are you instructed to do that?" "Oh yeah, waste yeah." I was like, really? Like,
it's so much
weird.
The thing that makes me laugh is, we had against the game against Blythe last night. There were moments where, before we scored pretty early on, but you could see from early on they were trying to take the sting out of the game. Like that's what you come to a big stadium, big lots of fans, just try and shut them up by like being boring stuff with the goalkeeper sort of faffing around, like knocking, like got some water on my gloves or something, and the fans around me going berserk, and then our guys, and then the end we were 3-0 up, they got 2 back, and suddenly at the end we were slightly clinging on, and I saw 2 or 3 of our players like, I've got the vapours or something, I don't know what's happened to me, and they suddenly go down, and our fans like, yes, lovely stuff.
Such a bunch of idiots.
It's brilliant double standard. I know, I love it.
Yes,
there's a great player saying in an interview where the physio guy comes on, and if it's with 15 minutes to go, he'll run on and go, "Is it real or not?" "No, it's not real." "Okay." And then they'll
really?
They'll do a pretend one, and so with a certain amount of time they have to ask whether it's real or not. We had
Ollie, our big striker, went down in an absolute heap in the middle of the pitch about halfway into the second half. So it's sort of too early to be time restricting. And he was giving it he was raw. I was like, oh no, this is a bad injury. He's a great big lump, and he is doing the full hand on the back of the wrist on the forehead, and he's rolling and rolling and rolling. And I was like, oh shit. And they spent about 5 minutes down there with him, and then he's absolutely fine. I was like, what's going on? And I saw him afterwards, like, "You're right." And he's like, "Yeah, what?" And I was like, oh, okay, forget it. I was like, I don't know what he was doing, but he was just like, "Oh, I'm tired, I just want to lie down for 5 minutes."
Do you know what? That makes a hell of a lot of sense. If you're knackered, blown out your arse.
Just have a quick line.
It's crazy doing that when there's like 10,000 people around you.
Watching you. I know.
I always think that when someone, especially when someone dies, when someone has just clipped them, and you go, we're going to analyse this.
I find that amazing in the Premier League, and especially now with VAR, where it's like, you'll get overturned if you get a yellow card.
Yeah, you look and you look fucking ridiculous,
and you look like an absolute prick. Yeah.
Oh, I've loved this.
Oh, I've loved it as well, Humphrey.
Oh, me too.
Just wish we'd recorded it.
Anyway, the Edinburgh Festival, which is why we've got you on.
Yes. Favourite Edinburgh Festival.
Deep cuts. Yes. There's too many to name. But I've got a list of 10 here.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. I know, it's mad. Thank you for having me. It's so fun talking to you, as I say, because it's like, because I think of all the people I've spoken to about this, the two of you understand as well or better than anyone how mad it is. How mad it is going. My life was the Pleasance upstairs at 7 p.m. and now I'm doing this.
Also, you're involved
strange.
in such a good TV show.
Yeah.
This is
thank
brilliant. I think it's so good.
I totally blew my mind when I saw you. Literally, I was.
So you didn't know before you
I didn't know
hadn't
you had
heard
anything to do with it. No.
Sure.
I just settled in, and when you settle and you sort of watch something, and then you want to watch it, and then slowly doze off. I had the absolute opposite impact. Obviously, I woke up like immediately. It's like 11 o'clock, and I'm wide awake, going. There's because I was in a hotel. Well, I wouldn't have said it to Petra anyway. I wouldn't have woken up and said Humphrey Ker's in a documentary. I was just like, I didn't know what to do with myself in that moment. I was like, well, that's mental.
Well, last night my wife was sat on the edge of the sofa at like 9 o'clock, 9:30. Are we going to watch this or not? yeah. She absolutely loves it.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Yeah, it's been
everyone.
Because I've had very little to do with it, as I say, other than sort of being in it. I'm just so glad that it was produced and edited and directed almost entirely by Americans, and I was like, are they going to get the tone right? Are they going to
really
understand?
That's incredible then, because they have.
I mean, I'll say I got to see early cuts of lots of things, and there are a few points where like, oh, that sounds a bit. I think we would find that a bit patronising if you put it that way, or that's a bit. Oh, actually, what this guy's saying here is that he's being sarcastic. He's being rude. You're presenting it as though he's being earnest, like he's whatever it may be, but only a tiny amount. And I was a bit nervous. I was just like, oh, what if it comes out and it's very Americanized and the Americans like it and we don't like it over here? But everyone's really gone for it, which is great.
I can't believe it. Well, I can't believe in a bad way, but the Americans have really gone for it because it's so British. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's they've loved that. I mean, I think they've just, as I said, a lot of people came for Rob and Ryan, and then ended up like bursting into tears. Not for me.
But you are excellent in it.
You really are.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
That's very sweet of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've sort of. I mean, the thing that I think the documentary probably shows, and it's the thing that means I've got. And I'm sorry, we basically said hanging on. But the thing that I think has stood me in the best stead in this whole thing is that I fucking love it. I love being here. I love the club. I love when we score. I love all the players. I love seeing the ground staff. I love every element of it. And I think that excitement is the thing that, like, the fans here, who understandably, I think at the start were like, I'm sorry, it's an old Etonian sketch comedy actor who was on 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown 15 years ago and then hasn't done anything since then on his IMDb. Why is he running our football club?
Why not?
And as I met people, yes, why not? But as I met people and they saw how much I cared and like how much I just live it and love it and enjoy it and then that's the thing that yes, I'm inexperienced and yes, I don't really know what I'm doing, but you can't take that away from you.
I've got one more question I've got.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing tomorrow morning? What's the first job?
Oh, great question.
Oh yeah, okay, that is an interesting one. So tomorrow, I'm only here for about a week, 10 days this time. So tomorrow I am actually going into Wrexham. I'm not doing that much football club stuff tomorrow. I'm going into Wrexham tomorrow to meet with a local kind of music hip hop producer, who's somebody who, because the guys are trying to do culturally stuff outside of just the football club. We're trying to use the club and community trust here to help the town in general, and he's someone who I've been introduced to as doing basically is like a one-stop shop for Welsh hip hop. So he's like a huge promoter, producer of Welsh hip hop and Welsh culture and stuff, and we're trying to see if there's something we can do to help bring more of what he's doing to light. In the afternoon, I'm doing stuff like. We'll have a meeting about like a pre-match preparation meeting probably sometime this week. We'll have a post-match and a pre-match. So we have a meeting to talk about how yesterday night went. What did we stock? Did we run out of beer? Did we have enough sausage rolls? We always do, and we never have enough sausage rolls
I love you in the middle of all that.
got.
Sorry,
well, again,
like a ton of lead. Henry's going. Sorry, Henry's going.
I wasn't expecting that.
I'll just go.
Yeah.
Do we have enough sausage rolls? Just answer me.
So answer the damn question, and I roll over it with a rod of iron.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bring me a sausage roll now, and I try it. Yeah, but I do know my way around.
4 Edinburgh shows.
I like the idea that you might
11.
start every meeting with, I'm not very experienced.
Do you say that?
Yeah, yes, I do say that a lot. I do genuinely go I do very often still go look, I mean, I would say it's not necessarily my area of expertise, but could we... Yeah. No, I mean, so what I have a thing that we talk about was there crowd trouble. Was our communications with the police? Did that work well? Are we? Did we have any issues with ticket scanning on the way in? Did we? Were the match day mascots? Safely escorted on and off? Did they get back to their parents? Okay.
What is the mascot? What is the mascot?
Well, we have 2. These are the 2 little kids. Our mascot is Rex the Dragon, which is quite controversial because it used to be Rockin' Robin, who I think is a better... Because we were the Robins. We were the Robins for a long time, and they changed to the Red Dragons about 10 years ago. And lots of fans hate Rex the Dragon.
Robin, because I've seen a game at Wrexham. Have you?
Have you been to Wrexham?
Yeah, years
Don't
ago.
know what Gillingham game?
Yeah.
Oh,
It just
great.
hit me. I was like, I remember Rockin' Robin. I was like,
Yeah.
So
he I have to say, I mean, with the greatest respect to Rex the Dragon, and the guy who does Rex the Dragon does a brilliant job, and he's beloved. The kids all love him, which is exactly what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
I do like how janky the old Rockin' Robin costume was. It was like a terrible old, sort of 70s costume. And there's something about it just really makes me laugh. So I am sad that we don't still have that weird old Robin one.
Put it on the to-do list.
I know, but it's controversial. It's one of the amazing things about it is it's stuff like that. You literally will get people who are like, if I had my way, I'd fucking kill the man who changed Rockin' Robin's costume. You're like, I think that seems a bit strong.
Yeah.
And then there's Rex the Dragon absolutists who are like, if Rockin' Robin shows his cunt face around this football club, you're like, okay, everyone just calm down a bit. It'll be all right either way.
Oh my God. What a mental life you have.
It's so funny.
It's
crazy.
I love this so much. I don't think I'm going to sleep tonight. I've just got so much rattling around my head about what you've got to do.
I'm off upstairs to watch the next. So you're just going from this screen to that one. Yeah.
Literally, I had to pause it when you came on. Isn't that weird? Look,
that's so crazy. There you go. There's Arthur.
I've got a poster of Humphrey up there.
This is too much.
I've met
Humphrey
Humphrey
very sweet of you.
maybe 40 times. So that makes
we used to play football together, Joe.
We did.
I dine out on that story. As I said, you're a popular figure around the racecourse.
Well, that's lovely. Did you tell him about my sweet left foot?
I said you're a very skillful left-sided midfielder. Is how I described you. Oh yeah, Joe. Did you know that Joe was a very fine player? David, is this news?
Well, this is sort of not what he gives off. I
think he's too soft. No, but that's what's so great about him is he had that kind of languid 70s football
Joe,
style.
Have you not been honest?
I'm all right.
Oh, that's annoyed me. Oh, that's disgusting.
It has to be said, this is in the context of a bunch of crap, fat stand-up comedians doing football in South London.
But you've always made out your shit. Please don't tell me you're actually quite good. That's disgusting. The fact you've kept that under wraps, I hate that. Are you good?
I don't know. I'm all right.
He can't say he's decent.
It seems like Humphrey's losing his confidence a bit.
No, look, No. What I'll say is, so here's what I would say. Out of the, when we play together, on a good day, you'd get 20-ish people turning out for this, and then we pick sides. And I think Joe would always be in the top, I don't know, 5 or 6 people that get picked.
This
Right.
is really annoying me. I don't like how he puts himself down. He plays this sad sack character. It really annoys me.
I know, when he's really an alpha male.
Yeah,
with
he
everything
really
going for him.
is. It's about time the world knew it as well. Sick of it.
What a wonderful way to end.
He's fucking ruthless, people.
You could say the executive director of National League Club Wrexham AFC has rated you as a good player.
There we go. Click that.
Yeah,
that.
we'll be sending a club scout down to watch your next game, Joe.
Oh, what a moment. I know it's only you, but it means a hell of a lot to me.
Remember, Humphrey said he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
Yes, that's worth factoring in.
All the times he says that, and then we'll end on that.
Maybe just do just this last 5 minutes. To probably do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Just do it as another
On a
webisode.
loop.
Just stick it out.
God,
Wonderful. Thanks, Humphrey.
disgusting.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Humphrey. And good luck. Good luck with the. I can't believe I'm going to say it's
huge
good luck with
luck.
the rest of the season.
Thank you. Well, look, here's what I'm hoping desperately is that maybe there's a cup encounter, or we see each other in the league before too long. You guys
Oh
can
my
come up
God, wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
Would be really fun. I told you
I
I've
was
got my
just
pharaoh.
checking how far away you are from me, but it's quite a journey. Yeah.
It's a bit of a schlep. Yeah, we're down that way for Torquay and Yeovil and all that.
You
occasionally.
played Bromley. Who else are you this way?
We got Borehamwood down in
that's
London.
north.
And we got, but yeah,
Bit further
for you, yeah, Bromley used to be Sutton, which wouldn't have been too
No.
bad for you, but that is they went up.
Yeah, Bromley.
Who else we got around there? That's about
played
it.
Bromley away.
Not yet.
Oh, I'm going to
I might
definitely come to
come
the Torquay. Definitely.
We
It's in
still.
April.
Yeah, we got Torquay away. Yeah,
You beat them 6-0.
we did. Well, they're having a tough season, Torquay, so far, but I think they'll sort it out by the time we go down.
Please
there.
be
It should
nice
a
to
bit
Steve
tougher.
Perriman if you see him.
I'll do my best.
Yeah. Good.
Is he a former Jules?
No,
He's a chatterbix.
He's a massive
chatterbix.
chatterbix. No, we met him, and I think he's works with the academy at Torquay, and I was
Right.
so starstruck, and I really let myself down.
Well, that's like me around all our players all
Yeah.
the time. It's just you have to work out how to be a bit cooler about it.
Yeah, not going to happen, is it?
One day.
Oh,
Thank you,
All right,
Humphrey.
gents.
Thanks,
Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
thrilled.
yeah. No, hopefully,
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
this is so
Thank
cool. What
you.
a brilliant show, mate, and what
Yeah.
so
Thank
pleased
you.
you, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely.
Do a game together sometime.
I'd love
Yeah.
that.
All right.
Cheers, mate.
See you later,
Brilliant.
mate.
Bye.
Bye.